So, my dear friends, let's take out our Gemara. We're on Daf Yudalid Amud Aleph. It's right now the third night of Hanukkah. We're going to start from the second line on Daf Yudalid Amud Aleph. Rava just finished telling us that when Rabbi Yehuda said the entire day, that cryptic statement, what he meant is that a Kohen Gadol cannot do avoda the entire day. And Rava said because we're concerned that he might eat. Because in Onayn, we're talking about a Kohen Gadol who's in Onayn, who lost a close relative. The halacha is he is allowed to do avoda, but he's not allowed to eat. Says Rabbi Yehuda, there's a gezerah that the Kohen Gadol who's in Onayn should not do avoda because he might come to eat. Now, Amarli Rav Adabar Ava Rava. Rav Adabar Ava asked about on Rava. He asked about our Mishnah, and that's why this whole conversation came up in our Gemara. Umi Gaza Rabbi Yehuda that Shema Yochal. Is he concerned, Rabbi Yehuda, that maybe the Kohen Gadol is going to come to eat? But we learned in the Mishnah. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Af Isha Cheres Misaknin Lo. Oh, we have another wife. We put up another wife for the Kohen Gadol. Now Shema Thomas Ishto, because maybe his first wife will die, and that way, so we have a second wife. We put up for him a second wife. That way he'll be able to continue to do the avoda. But hold on, if his wife dies, so then he's in Onayn. Says, ask the Gemara, Maisa Ishto Avid Avoda. We're saying that he should do avoda, even though he's in Onayn, obviously. V'lo Gaza Rabbi Yehuda Shema Yeochal, and Rabbi Yehuda doesn't make a gzera there. He says the Kohen Gadol can continue doing the avoda. Says the Gemara, Amar Le Hachi Hashta. What type of comparison? What type of kasher is that? Hasam over there by us. Kivan. It's Yom Kippur. It's Yom Kippur. The Kuli Amal Lo Ka'achli. Nobody's eating. It's Yom Kippur today. Hunami Lo Asile Mechel. So he also is not going to eat. But halach over here, in the case of a regular Onayn, the Kuli Alma Achli, where everybody is eating, so Hunami Asile Mechel. He'll also come to eat. That's our concern. Chiyai Gavna Michaili Alan and Inos. Ask the Gemara, hold on a second, whoa. Let's take a step back already for a second. He's not an Onayn, because if you remember, he divorced, in the previous Gemara, we said he made a condition that he divorce his wife if she dies. Right? Remember, he's going to step into the shul, and that way he'll make sure that his first wife is divorced. That way, the second wife was the wife the whole time of the avoda without him having two wives at one time. And says the Gemara, it's true, he's not an Onayn, but he still hits his wife. Halachically, whether he had just divorced her, he just technically divorced her. He was madly in love with her, but he had to technically divorce her so that for halachic considerations, it doesn't mean that he doesn't feel the same way. So he's going to be, therefore he still would say that he should not be able to take part of the avoda. Okay, brand new Mishnah. Let's go. Kol Shivas Hayamim Hu Zorik Hasadam. For all these 7 days, the Kohen Gadol sprinkles the blood. Umaktir Sakatoris. He's the one who brings the Katoris in the Beis Hamikdash, which every day there was Katoris. Umeitir Neros. He's the one who's going to prepare that Neros on the menorah. Umakir V'Sarosh V'Saregel. And he offers the head and the leg of the carbon tamid. It's going to be specifically the Kohen Gadol. Ushar kol hayamim. All other days, though, and the rest of the year, imratza lahakriv makriv. If the Kohen Gadol wants to be the one to do these things, he can. Kohen Gadol chelik barosh. He takes his portion first. He brings the karbanos first. V'nodol chelik barosh, and he's the first rights to take whatever he wishes from the karbanos. Okay. Ask the Gemara. Man Tana. Who is this Tana? Who is the Tana of our Mishnah? Amr Chisda Delok Rabbi Akiva. It's not like Rabbi Akiva, obviously. De'i Rabbi Akiva, for if it was Rabbi Akiva, Ha'amar Tar Shenafal Alehazah. Rabbi Akiva says that if a tar person, if he gets sprinkled upon him, Timato, he becomes Tameh. So, Eichi Abed Avoda. How could he do the avoda? Right? Remember, the Kohen Gadol gets sprinkled upon him. He gets sprinkled upon him the ashes of the Parah Adumah for all 7 days, or the third and seventh day. Either way, he should be tamei. According to Rabbi Akiva, if he got sprinkled, he should be tamei. At least this type of a lighter type, he becomes pure, right? Rabbi Akiva's opinion is, what's the point of the Parah Adumah ashes if it makes him tamei? The answer is, Rabbi Akiva holds that anybody who is tahar becomes tamei. Now we don't know. Remember, we don't know if the Kohen Gadol is specifically impure. We're just sprinkling on him to be sure. But there's a good chance that he's totally pure. He's tar. And so now, according to Rabbi Akiva, if you sprinkled Parah Adumah ashes on him, he would then become tamei. Continues the Gemara. Explain, where do we see this opinion of Rabbi Akiva? The Tanya, we learned it in Brisa. It says, V'hiza tar ala tamei. If the tar person shall sprinkle upon the tamei person, it says in the Torah, ala tamei tar. It is only about upon a person who is tamei, that he becomes tar. The ala tar, though, tamei. But on the tar person, he'll become tamei. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. So that's what we're saying, that the Kohen Gadol over here became tamei. If he was tar, he would become tamei and that shouldn't be allowed to do the avodah. The Chachamim argue Rabbi Akiva, and they say, Ein ha'dvarim halalu amurim ela b'dvarim ha'mekablim tama. This sprinkling, the whole sprinkling thing of the Torah, only applies to things which are able to become tamei. That's what the pasuk is coming to teach us. But if you would sprinkle something that's not able to become tamei, it wouldn't become tamei. Mahi. What does this mean? What do the Chachamim mean? The kiddutzan, like we learned in the Mishnah. If let's say niskavin lahazos ala behema, if you wanted to sprinkle on a behema, an animal that's alive cannot become tamei. V'hiza al ha'adam, but he sprinkled on a person. So im yesh be'ezov, if there's still some water on the grass that you used to sprinkle, yishana, he could throw it over again. Niskavin lahazos ala adam. If you, however, intended to sprinkle on a person, but by accident, v'hiza ala behema, but you sprinkled it instead on an animal. So then, im yesh be'ezov, even if there is water on the ezov, lo yishana, you can't sprinkle. Why? Because you changed from what it was supposed to be. You sprinkled on an animal. When you sprinkle on an animal, one who can't become tar, that's considered doing work. That's considered, it messes up the Parah Adumah water that's on the grass. So then you have to dip it again and sprinkle over again. But if you sprinkled on a person, even though that person might not become tar because you didn't mean to sprinkle on them, nonetheless the water could still be used. That's what how the Chachamim learned that drasha. Now, explains the Gemara a little bit deeper. Where did Rabbi Akiva see his opinion from? My time at the Rabbi Akiva. What's the reason for Rabbi Akiva? How did he see his drasha that a person who's tar becomes tamei and a person who's tamei becomes tar? Nichtav rachmana v'hiza tar alav. It's because the pasuk could have simply written, could have said the tar person shall sprinkle the waters upon him. That could have said like that. My ala tamei. Why does it add that it sprinkles upon the tamei? It could have said upon him. Why does it add in on the tamei person? Shema mina. From there we learn that ala tamei tar, on the person who is tamei, he becomes tar. The ala tar tamei, and and also the opposite. That on the pure person, it's there to show us. And if it's the opposite, if it's not on a tamei person, but it's on a tar person, then he'll become tamei. V'Rabbanan, how do they understand the extra words? Why does it say upon the tamei person? Why didn't it just say upon him? Obviously, we were talking about the person who's tamei. It's coming to teach us that it's only considered sprinkling if it's on something which is possible to become tamei, like a person, like we learned above. But if it were like on an animal, that would be called using it for not what it's meant for, and that would make the water become that good for making purity. Says the Gemara, aval but over here, regarding would they agree with the Rabbi Akiva's opinion? Absolutely not, says the Gemara. Kavah chomerhu, it's a kavah chomer that we wouldn't say that. Im ala tamei tar, if on an impure person he becomes pure, So alatar, lokal shekain, and somebody who's already pure, he's only going to become more pure. It's a purifying power, says the Gemara. Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Akiva says that we know that Shlomo HaMelech said about the Parah Adumah that this is like the most complex thing of wisdom. It's beyond him. Even Shlomo HaMelech, the most wise person. And Rabbi Akiva, Gemara explains, Rabbi Akiva, Hainu Tuk Amar Shlomo, you're right. It doesn't sound like it makes sense, Rabbanan, like you said. There's a Kavachomer, shouldn't be like that. A person who's tar should certainly not become more tamei if they're coming into contact with the most purifying power in the world. So says the Gemara, Amarti. That's what that's what Shlomo HaMelech said when he said, Amarti echma v'hi ruchayka mimeni. I have become wise, but still the Torah is beyond me. He's referring to this thing. Now, why would it ever be that the water of Parah Adumah would make a person who's tamei? V'Rabbanan. How are they going to understand what was Shlomo HaMelech so impressed about by Parah Adumah that he couldn't understand it? The pasuk is coming to teach us that the one who sprinkles the waters and the one upon whom they sprinkle the waters are both tahar. The one who sprinkled and the one who sprinkled is both tahar. V'nogea bahen tamei. But a person who just touches them when it doesn't have the power to make tahar, you touch the water, you become tamei. And that was what the Chachamim didn't understand why that would be. Umazet tar, but is the one who sprinkles the water really tar? Asked the Gemara. It says straight out in the pasuk that a person who sprinkles the water has to clean his clothes. My maze no geya, explains the Gemara. When it says sprinkles, it means one who touched the water. Vaksiv maze, what do you mean? Vaksiv no geya. There's a different word for that. There's a time the Torah says sprinkles, and the pasuk there says no geya, also touches. Obviously, maza doesn't mean the same thing as touches. Explains the Gemara. Furthermore, asks the question, the Gemara. Maze boy kibus begadim. It says in the pasuk the person who sprinkles needs to clean his clothes. No geya lo boy kibus begadim. And regarding the one who touches the water, it doesn't say that he needs to sprinkle his clothes. How could you possibly tell me that the one who touches it has to sprinkle his clothes, but not the one who sprinkles it? Sprinkles the water on the Parah Adumah to make somebody tar. And it says the Gemara, Elamai maze no say. When it says sprinkles, what it means is a person carrying the water. And it's saying that there's two things. There's a person who touches the water, he becomes tamei. And the pasuk saying, and the one who carries the water, not for the sake of sprinkling, just the one who carries it, that person does not only does he become tamei, but his clothes becomes tamei. But the one who sprinkles it, the Chachamim still maintain, they still hold that he still remains tar. Why does the pasuk not say no say? We have a word for that. Why does it say he sprinkles if it doesn't even mean that he's the one who sprinkles? Not referring to the sprinkling on the person who is tamei. Answers the Gemara, ha-kamashman. It's coming to teach us like this. To be inon shir hazah, in order to become tamei, when you carry the water of the Parah Adumah, you need to carry the amount of water that is required to sprinkle. Says the Gemara, now that whole answer only works if in the first place there's a certain amount that you need to sprinkle. But if there is no amount that you need to sprinkle, how will you explain it? You can't tell me that it's coming to teach me the amount. It's coming to say you need to carry the amount that you need to sprinkle. There is no amount that you need to sprinkle. Continues the Gemara. The Gemara answers, no. Even if sprinkling does not require a certain amount, hanimili agaba de gavra, that only means on the body of the person that it doesn't need. Even if a teensy bit touches the person, he becomes tar. But in the container that you're using to sprinkle, that you're going to use to sprinkle on the person, that does need a shear. It's not, because we learned in the Mishnah, how much do you need? Must there be in the waters so that it will have the amount that it's needed for sprinkling. The Gemara says, Kadesh Yitzbal, it's the amount that you need to dip Roshe Gvulin V'Yaza, the edges of the grasses, and to you have to be able to put the whole edges of the grasses in and then sprinkle it from there. So there's a certain amount. Everybody agrees that there's a certain amount of the waters that you need. It's just a question about how much needs to go on to the person who's tummy. That we have a machlokas on. The rest of this topic, Emet Hashem, will continue tomorrow. Have an amazing, amazing day.